All right. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you guys are. This is Dwayne at Schell Games, and we are starting our November Dinner with the Devs stream, Death Engine Edition. With me here, we have devs from the I Expect You to Die team. We recently pushed out the last DLC for I Expect You to Die, Operation Death Engine, so we're super excited to talk about not just that level, but I Expect You to Die in general with all the levels that have come out. Please, any questions that you have, put in the live chat, and we'll make sure that we try to talk about it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. You could be in our Discord as well. There's a channel there for I Expect You to Die that you could talk to the players there. So let's get started with some introductions. We'll start this way, and we'll go on around.
All right. Hey, what's up? I'm Tyler. I was in the stream last time, I think. I've been on before. I'm an artist at Schell.
Hey, I'm Ken. I'm an engineer. I worked on almost every level of this game.
I'm Charlie. I'm the project director for levels 6 and 7. So that was Seed of Power and Death Engine.
I'm Dan. I was the art director for Seed of Power and Death Engine as well.
So you see, we have a lot of our disciplines represented here. So if you have questions about art for the game, design for the game, engineering for the game, we're going to talk about just getting the game on all the different types of headsets and platforms and the fun things we learned along the way for that. But to get started, Charlie, the project director for Death Engine, is going to give us a little synopsis about what that level's about.
Sure. So the events of Operation Seed of Power had you, the agent, sneaking into Dr. Zor's underground base to find out what the Death Engine is and steal the plans for it. Having done that, you bring the reel back to the office. The people in decryption decrypt it for you, and you discover that it is a space station orbiting Earth that must be stopped. Surely it has a giant laser on it that's going to shoot important places. So you use that same reel to start the last mission of the game, to go to space and stop the Death Engine once and for all.
That's really cool. And what was the thinking process? And everybody can jump in on that. How did the team decide of going to space to be this last mission?
We want to throw out a spoiler or a disclaimer. There's going to be spoilers for the level if you haven't played it yet. So
Yes.
we're not going to hold back.
At least some premise spoilers.
Yeah.
We probably won't get into ways of solving puzzles, but if you know nothing about this level, you will learn something about it.
Yes.
It was actually pretty tricky to figure out what to do and where to go for this final mission. For a while, the team was interested in doing a classic captured by the bad guy story, and going to space as a setting was also high up there in our list of things that we wanted to try. And it really came down to most of our levels have been inspired by the places that you go, and space was a really compelling setting. It's hard to top it. Felt like it would be a great final level. And we had a lot of really cool ideas for where to be captured and like what those bases could be like, but it was lots of different settings. So I think that's part of why we ended up in space, is because it was a single place we could all picture.
Yeah, we talked a lot about like adventure tourism. This is sort of a buzzword we use often, where it's like Mission Impossible and Bond and all those. They sort of like go somewhere to do a mission, but when they arrive, they're not doing a mission. They're like on a boat, relaxing and drinking, and it's like they're on a vacation in a hotel. So it's that sort of feeling of you're a tourist going somewhere like exotic to see the world, and then the mission's on top of that. And space is like the one break from that. Or I guess we're kind of like SpaceX, space tourism, sort of.
Everybody wants to go to space for a short period.
At least for a little.
For a little bit, and then come right back.
Cool. So, from also in the mission, well, I don't want to give away too much stuff, but there are more people than just Dr. Zor than you have to worry about. And so, without giving away too much background of that person, what was the inspiration behind that? By introducing more villains.
Something we thought went really well in Seed of Power was just the character presence of the henchman in the elevator. We thought it was really fun, and it play tested really well to hear them and hear them physically close by banging on the door. And that was part of the inspiration when we went into Operation Death Engine. We wanted to capitalize on that again, putting a character into the same space with you or nearby helps make the setting feel alive. I think it adds a lot of personality. You can also tell a little bit of a story through that character. So we put a much greater emphasis on it this time than in arguably any of the past levels.
Very cool, very cool. I just love all the support that I Expect You Die has gotten, because this was a title that the studio started working on in 2015, because we released it in 2016. So it's been a while, and you've been on to almost every level. So how's from your end the progression from in just the VR technology? I mean, just working on the Rift and mouse and keyboard to now to the touch controllers to the Quest. I mean, you've seen it all.
So many platforms, so many headsets, so many different control schemes. It's been a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
But like the mouse controls are in this game's DNA. If it wasn't for the mouse control, we wouldn't have had telekinesis and all that other stuff. That ended up still being a great solution for everything else to keep it room scale while not being able to get up and move around. So that has at least aged well, in my opinion.
Yeah. So go a little bit deep, because I don't know what if it wasn't for the mouse, it wouldn't be TK or telekinesis. Why is that? Like, how did you guys? That
came out of. I think it was the idea that I think this may have came straight from Jesse actually, but it was how can you feel heroic trapped in a chair? You can't get up, you can't move around, and it's like, well, what kind of superhero is that? They're tied up, they don't have their arms, then they're stuck in place, they can't move around. He's like, well, spies get in sticky situations like that all the time, where the supervillain leaves them for dead and is gloated and talked all about their master plan. And it's like, do you expect me to talk, Goldfinger? And it's like, no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. And it's like, it's right there. It's sort of an homage to that kind of thing. But like that creativity through constraints, that's like, okay, well, how can we make an exciting game where you just stay put and you don't move around? Okay. And that's like that telekinesis is like, well, I can interact with my environment even though I am virtually tied up. I don't have real hands. I can't get up and move around, but I can still affect my environment.
It was pre-touch too.
Yeah.
You're right. It was pre-Xbox controller on the Oculus too, where it was like, just buy an extra monitor that's on your face and you extend your display. So like the controls coming from mouse were sort of that, where our choices were like keyboard, or you could reach the mouse while you're blinded by the headset. Yeah.
That's pretty wild. And Tyler and Dan, you guys done a lot of the art for a lot of I Expect You Die. How have you seen what adjustments have you had to make with advances of the technology, or just the obstacles of taking something from Rift to, or Oculus Rift for those viewers, to PlayStation VR, to ultimately the Oculus Quest, where we pushed it to the Quest at the release of Seat of Power, I believe.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So still kind of recent to the Quest. So have you seen that progression?
I mean, this kind of matches. It's related to what you guys were talking about, but like in some of the versions, we have the tutorial cards from other versions of the game that are sort of stacked in there.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you load the scene for the tutorial, the bottom drawer is sometimes just filled, like someone has opened their inbox, it's just filled with cards, and they're like popping out the top. And when you load, they all disappear except for the ones that you need in your tutorial, or like in the build they do. But yeah, I think seeing that happen, where so many times we've had to remake the tutorial cards, we're like, oh, there's a new controller out. Like, well, we tutorialize the new buttons again. It's like we need to redraw a controller and redo all those cards and then put them on top of the old ones. And eventually it gets so unwieldy where it's a huge stack. And I think that and the lighting change probably, where when we shipped for Windows Mixed Reality, we were on an old version of Unity and we stayed on that because it was like stable. But the Windows only supported a newer version. The newer version only supported a new lighting pipeline. So that means you have to redo all the lighting in the game. And we were hoping it'd be just a, was that like quick in and out adventure, little tiny port, and like it's we got to relight everything in the entire game differently, and it reacts different. And that was a pretty heavy ask, like a surprisingly heavy ask just to port between consoles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think specifically for Quest. So I came on when we were porting the full game first onto the Quest, and just going through all the past levels and seeing how they were built, and being like, oh, like this and this could have been better, or this and this could have been better, or oh wait, this interaction is like 50 game objects. That's too many draw calls. How do we like reduce that down? And so I think we came up with some interesting solutions. I think one of the biggest solutions was atlasing, so just merging different meshes and textures together into just one big texture and material. But there was a lot of prep and grunt work that had to go into that in order to make that work.
I think the particle system optimization.
Oh yeah,
where
particle
like,
as well.
yeah, they're like a fire, and then the chair has fire here and here and here and anywhere on these spots, and we need it to be like one emitter. So we have to make like a polygon that hits all those spots on the chair because they have to exist on one thing and it can emit from the polygon then. So we're like looking for systems that we can sort of like compress 4 emitters into one and kind of get them to look the same.
And it was funny because like the particle systems were a little better, I think, than when the particles were first made. Like you wouldn't, there were like different shapes you could have, like a torus shape or a circle, and that just didn't exist before. And so we sort of took advantage of that and been like, oh well, before we had to have like 5 planes for each side of the chair, but now we could just get away with like just sort of a donut shape, and that matches the curvature of the chair, and it looks the same.
Yeah.
So
Cool. So how, again, I'll stick with art for a little bit. Whenever you go from, scene to scene, so for those who may have gotten to I Expect You Die a little bit late, the first game shipped with 4 levels, and then the very first DLC was First Class, and then Seed of Power, and then ultimately Death Engine, Operation Death Engine. And with each one, you see just the art so specific and so I think really cool. And so, how did you guys go through the decisions of kind of keeping the art consistent if it's a very polished look, but kind of making each level very specific with your decisions? That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it's changed over time too, because like the original levels we had, like the min spec was a computer that was good at the time when Oculus DK1 came out, which now is probably lower end than the mobile Quests, right? Because they got so much faster, right? Things look worse then, but so we made really cheap, and then we realized we can have a higher min spec, so we started getting sort of like excited and doing too much, and then Quest comes out, and then our philosophy has to change into like, well, the art style has to look good, but we have to optimize all this later to run on a phone on your face. So yeah, like having that extra step of optimization looming in the future sort of makes us think differently about like, oh, I'm gonna have a great vista here, like maybe like, well, do we will that work on a phone, and can we fit it in, and like how would we do that? There's a ton of questions that sort of you have to balance.
I think it served us well, though, the fact that our original min spec was below the min spec that the Oculus ended up shipping with, because I feel like that kept our feet on the ground and kept our head out of the clouds in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It saved us with PSVR too, right? When we had to port the console, we were like terrified.
Yep.
Like, oh no, we're going from PC to console. This is gonna be awful. And because we were so efficient early, it was like a couple changes, and like we had to fix some stuff, and like, okay, this is actually like it's not like a landmine. It's like a manageable change as opposed to what we were worried about, or like it would be triple the spec of a PSVR, and we have to do so many changes to get it to run. But yeah.
And a lot of the things we learned from like that PlayStation 4 port, like the gravity machine in level 4 in the hunting lodge, that informed our approach for how can we still have cool gravity in the Death Engine level. Yeah. So we knew we had to dial certain things way back if we wanted to have crazy gravity all the time.
That was a fun design constraint, having to list out all of the possible objects that could be free floating at any given time. If you can figure out that number, bonus points.
There you go. All right, so challenge accepted. Come on, guys, let's see what you can do. All right, let's get to some questions. The questions that are coming in are fantastic, guys. Please keep them coming. We're going to try to answer as many as we can. This is Unknown 7. Wait, so there are no more DLC levels? Charlie?
It's true. This is the final level of the first I Expect You to Die title.
Excellent. Aged Bamboo. Why in level 4 is there an agency lighter in Zor's safe? Who would like to answer that?
It depends on who you ask. The agency would tell you it's just a matter of Dr. Zor being familiar with the agency, constantly thwarting Zorax's plans. Probably picked up a lighter along the way.
There you
Maybe
go.
it's something a little bit more nefarious. Nobody really knows.
There you go. Let's see. Radjack. Oh, Radjack had some suggestions for additional levels. If we, well, keep the ideas coming. We love to hear ideas of what.
Jam Week, right?
There's always Jam Week. That's true. And if you don't know about Jam Week on our YouTube channel, there's a video about why we jam and how we kind of test out ideas, and you can learn a little bit more about that. Let's see. Main account. So we talked about a new villain in Death Engine. Main account says, I do wish they could have resolved the whole Dr. Zor thing, though. And so whenever you say resolved the Dr. Zor thing, main account, try elaborate. What exactly would you want the team to solve? And maybe we can give you some additional lore, but without really solving anything for you. I did appreciate how your team went through the thinking process of are you ever going to reveal Dr. Zor? What exactly is Dr. Zor? Could you go a little bit more into that
Sure.
decision process?
Yeah, Dr. Zor is still out there, still doing nefarious things. We would love to, in the future, return to the I Expect You to Die universe. But for this game, the focus really, if you look at the first mission all the way to the end, is about this big Death Engine plan. There's actually a crate in the plane that says Death Engine parts on it. And if you listen to the character who may be in the final level, you can hear a bit of things. I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah.
But there's a relationship to the earlier levels in this final level.
There we go.
I think I want to choose my words carefully. With the new level especially, we did develop more of the world and the backstory.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a lot of answers in our like canon Bible that are not going to be in the game. But it was super awesome to be able to sort of flesh that stuff out and have like heavy like narrative grounding. That was probably the most exciting thing from space for me, at least.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Agent Bamboo had another question. When you die, and so I expect you to die. You die a lot, and so they must have seen this screen more than once. When you die, why does it say Zoraxis Industries above the return to office? So the return to office button in the briefcase.
I haven't seen them before.
No,
I've never seen it.
so the death screen has
Never die.
He's never done.
the death screen has us reused some assets that we were going to put in the car. The briefcase was an object that holds other objects just loosely rattling around inside of it. It totally didn't work. We didn't want to waste the time spent on the briefcase assets, so we kind of had that as the centerpiece of the death room. But to sort of theme it up, like the same way like your UI in the office to like choose like for your level select and to get your briefing is all real in-game UI with the projector and stuff. It's not just a gamey sort of thing. The UI for the death screen is also very themed and on sort of in the world. So like your death is part of an autopsy report. You're like you want to go at it again. Like I believe it's like Zoraxis Air, like a plane ticket. Like I'm going to get back out there. And this was built during the car level, so it's like theming it around like the air travel and stuff was important. And also it's just like the Zoraxis Industries, Zoraxis Air, all that stuff is sort of like just general like light hints that like Zoraxis Global is a big corporation that has a lot of sub corporations. So like Zoraxis Pharmaceutical is the ones in the the second level and the window washing level, like they're the ones making the virus. Zaraxis Air obviously is the airline that's ferrying the car to Zanzibar in the car level, and there's a lot of just little subcorporations, and that's just to give you a little bit more of a feels like, yes, they're actually kind of big. They're sort of like the Google or the Amazon of their era.
Yeah, there's like a metaphysical component too, where like when you succeed, you go like the color palette that you get is like you go back to the agency, like where you work, the good guys, and when you die and you fail, like your property is Zaraxis now, and all the coloration is sort of like it's the antagonist to sort of just message more that you've lost. Yeah, but that's kind of like feelings and flavory stuff. I don't think you're actually going to an interrogation room in the sky or something weird, but
Being told how you died.
yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Not Snakes. That's a great one. It says, Death Engine was great, though, guys. So, congratulations. It's a good level. Not Snakes also asks, does I Expect You Die have a sister Discord to Until You Fall? So, we're a little bit late to Discord in terms of watching Discord hit the 100 million member mark. So it doesn't have a dedicated Discord. Right now, our biggest one that we've been actively managing is the one for Until You Fall, but there's a channel for I Expect You to Die. And who knows if as the VR market gets bigger and more people find I Expect You to Die, we could potentially see a community there. I think on Steam, the Steam group is around 5,000 people, so we could spend some more time curating it. But we're an indie studio with 125 people, a lot of people developing, and we trying to figure out how many communities to manage is a conversation that we're continuing to have. Let's see. So that's a really long answer for no.
Well, we don't have a sister Discord. We have like a child Discord.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Tucked away.
Yeah, little itty bitty channel.
Yeah. I'm in there all the time. I'm always refreshing.
Yeah, see, so you go to the Until You Fall Discord, go to the channel of I Expect You to Die, and talk to Tyler.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah, so Radjack he had a level idea about as you're going through I guess we could talk about this whenever you're looking at creating a level for the first one. Before you guys landed on space, you could talk about what type of other levels you guys were thinking. Because bathroom. Yes, that's right. Well, we'll talk about the bathroom again. Yes.
Bringing it back.
Yeah, that's right. Rad said make a roller coaster level.
Whoa, that'd be pretty cool.
Where you would have to defuse a bomb in the roller coaster.
One of our very first prototypes to see about will it make you sick in VR was a roller coaster.
Was it really?
Yep.
But there's an easy way to we can actually set on a roller coaster if we like give you the headset on a real roller coaster like at a ride, and you play it like and there's a bomb and the timer is how long the car takes.
Perfect.
30 seconds.
Location-based VR entertainment.
There you go.
That's not a bad idea.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, and there are some successful roller coaster VR experiences. Yeah, and I like especially if the roller coaster was decommissioned or like old or had dangerous parts of the tracks. It could be pretty fun.
Yeah. So what were some other ideas of the final level?
There's the classic, the bathroom.
Yeah, we have to bring up the bathroom again.
The bathroom finale. If you play Operation Death Engine, there may or may not be a reference to this classic level idea.
It lives on.
Oh, that's so true. Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just so many ideas about, the bath. But what were some other, I guess, well, I think the bathroom idea was kind of serious, right? So what other ones were there?
No, at least for me, it was actually a serious idea.
There's legit interactions you can come up
I
with.
soured on it later because of the finale reasons, or like you don't want to make your finale in a bathroom. But there's like a very nice hotel, a really glitzy bathroom that's beautiful and shiny, and you can open the stall and close it to hide from people as they come in, and you have to pick all the stuff up off the floor so they don't see you in there. Like there's stuff in a bathroom that's cool.
It's true.
Yeah, I think we have some I don't know, pillars isn't the right word, but like loose guidelines for levels, right? And like the adventure tourism is one that I mentioned earlier, but there's some others that the bathroom kind of does
Those
not
against.
work with. Yeah, no one wants to be an adventure tourist in a bathroom.
That's why it's got to be a luxurious bathroom.
Yeah, that's
I don't
right.
even know if I mean, maybe.
Really nice towels.
That's like when you go to a nice place and then you get food poisoning.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the dream.
No. Some other ideas that tend to come up a bunch are a level that takes place in an elevator, because you could press buttons to go to floors and then have like little set pieces on each floor, and maybe the goal is to get to that locked penthouse by finding a key pass or something like that, and then get up to the top and defeat a villain.
But it's fun how levels like that still come back to, in some form, go to the level in level 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
See the power.
There
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
I think,
Oh,
just
true,
about
yeah.
always when we go through our concept phase, where we're blue sky, dreaming up places where we'd want to go, things we'd want to do as a spy. Whenever there are ideas we're especially excited about, they tend to be able to transfer to whatever place we end up going.
Yeah.
So I only think there's a few times where there's something we're really excited to do that we didn't quite fit into the mission we ended up making. I think one I can think of is the safe cracking fantasy that we wanted to do for Seat of Power. We still have the safe cracking with the handle mechanism. Not that that's necessarily a solution to a puzzle, but I thought that the idea of putting your head close to an object and like the stethoscope,
Right.
hearing the locks click into place would be super fun in
Which
VR.
You can, right? Or is there no different
I
sound?
mean, there's clicking, but you
There
don't,
is.
You don't. There's no like.
There's no special clicking.
Yeah.
You don't have to like stick your head flush to the object, but
Yeah.
that means it's a thing that potentially we could do in a jam week or whatever.
Yeah. Very cool. Let's see. Tusk Walrus says, yes, the second game. This is my fave game. I love it. We need this. So thank you for that positivity.
These are out the bathroom, right?
Yep, about the bathroom. Yep. Rad Jack, why do you die when the glass probably breaks, even though you had a helmet? I think he's talking about Death Engine.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a tricky one.
You get depressurized through the. Right?
Well, and no one says what you're wearing helmet down.
Yeah.
I think that's the key to it.
Swim trunks.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
you
those
didn't
are-
know you were going to
those are-
space.
Those are shards of pretty thick glass. They're protecting you from space.
Oh yeah, it's the glass that kills you.
I mean, the glass is gonna.
Oh, pretty thick glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With pressure, there's a
Yeah.
lot that can kill you in
I
space.
mean, there's little explosions that happen when you get depressurized.
Is there a safe way to break the glass, or is there?
No, it's pretty explosive.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could try and gently tap the window with the arm, but
Space shuttle, perhaps not up to regulation.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it was a little early for a space station this
Yeah.
large at this time. Not built to code.
Right.
Yeah.
The big bay windows? Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Big bay window.
Dramatic. Bad idea.
Yeah.
He
Looks
was-
good,
yeah,
but
he
in
was-
use. Yeah.
He was inspired by New England colonial homes.
It's all about that view.
If you leaf through the computer there, you'll see that Xeraxis Corporation does not have the best safety record with their space program.
That's true.
Oh, that's good. Let's see. The Pachugska says, hello, when will the update be in the Vive port? We are working on it, nothing to announce just yet. Tusk Walrus, is Zor still being evil, or is he in jail?
Good question. Still being evil. I feel like that's you can't be good when
They're
you're
not.
Xeraxis.
They're not exclusive though.
Good point.
Zor could be in jail and good, or out of jail and good.
I think unlikely in jail.
Yeah.
You know what I say? Stick to what you're good at.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Wait, why deviate?
Why stop being evil when you're good at being evil?
That's fair. Point to learn.
Is Zor evil?
That's
Ooh.
a long conversation. How long we got on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, is Zor evil?
Is the agency good?
Ooh, existential questions.
Are the Xeraxis intentions just to make some money, power, something deeper.
Hmm.
I think we talked once about like, is Zor evil? And it's like, well, there's some stuff that could be misinterpreted, and most of what you run into is sort of a henchman. Maybe his henchmen are in charge.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
There's also a lot of revenge. We steal Zorax's car, and so they
Yeah.
want to send a giant bomb full of toxic nerve gas at the agency.
It could be very John Wick.
Yeah, I was just thinking John Wick. He was like, don't steal Dr. Zora's
steal
car.
Dr.
Don't steal a car.
This
and
is
then you don't
this
get
is
a
our
ticket.
fault. It was preventable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the virus, I mean, it could just have been something like, Thanos. There's like, this city's overpopulated. Good intentions.
I mean, it was the player who hit the button to launch the rocket.
That's
or it was
true.
the player who hit the button that ends up making the rocket get launched.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, think of this one. In the Operation Seed of Power, the Death Engine only aims at 8 places in the world.
Right.
Why those 8?
Why those 8?
Yeah.
Things to think about. Yeah. Got deep really, really quick. See, me name's Jeff. Hey guys, what's your favorite item in this game? What's your favorite item in this game? Let's expand it to maybe what's one of your favorite moments in the game as well. Across.
Look at flare gun.
What's up, flare gun?
Flare gun's easy. Yeah, 2 flare guns in the office, just shooting.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can
Okay.
of meat?
Can of meat.
Yes.
Good old jiggle.
Yeah. Take it real close. Give it a little shakeroo.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Does that mean it's gone bad? If it has an air pocket?
No, you want to let...
Was it ever good?
You want to let a can of meat sit for a week until it gets the jiggle, and there's a little bit of space opening up inside, and then it's ready to pop and eat.
All right.
We did a lot of research for this.
My favorite item is the scorpion. He shows up in lots of places in
Which
the
one?
game. Probably the Carlo scorpion, but I'm also
Yeah.
partial to the
It's the
one
closest.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The closest active scorpion.
Dan, your favorite moment?
I was thinking about the new level. I think the space helmet is really nice.
Yeah.
Putting it on, getting what you need, perhaps to breathe. But
Yeah.
I like the line that plays when you get the helmet.
yes. Some other assets. I really like the pocket watch.
Yeah.
It's like this nice small thing you can hold. You can hear it ticking.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. My favorite moment. I mean, just being able, whenever we were actively, showing the game at different shows and events, just watching people get delighted with the small interactions that they didn't really expect but wanted to try, and they're surprised it works. Those are just watching people enjoy that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, the scorpion's a real good one because all the demoers,
Yeah.
they always lift their legs up.
Yeah.
There's no sensors down there. They just play like this.
Yeah.
They're afraid of the scorpions.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's a good one. Cat LP. This game is great and all, but there's one final question. Where will there be more orange juice?
Yes. My proof is there is an email that says, "We got more orange juice. XOXO, Professor X-Ray."
Maybe you are more orange juice, right?
Oh no.
You were the last of the orange
and
juice.
what happens to Professor X-Ray?
If you're successful, all the orange juice is destroyed.
So there's like a quantum state where if you fail, there is more orange juice. If you succeed, there is no more orange
Well,
juice.
actually, it's plausible that you can free the orange juice into orbit to be drifting forever, as long as you don't drink it.
Could be up there like Elon Musk's car.
Yeah, it's never gonna go
Yeah,
away.
that's right, with Spaceman.
Yeah, it's got to be a stable orbit though, so try to do parallel
Throw
to
it
the
really
Earth.
hard.
Yeah,
want it
and really
parallel.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that answers your question. Let's see. Not snakes. What is the agency if Zoraxis is an industry based on making money to end the world? What is the agency if
Right.
Zoraxis is an industry based on making money to end the world?
For instance, who does the agency work for?
Right,
Are they part of the United States government? Seems unlikely.
right, right.
Do they operate with no checks and balances?
That's right.
Just seems likely.
Seems like.
Why do they have half British accents?
They do. They do have half British accents.
It must be a British agency where they say elevator.
Yeah.
that's right. They don't say lift. Yeah.
Maybe you can't trust them.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
throwing it out there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the handler's fishing himself. So, let's see. King of Dance. It's a bold name. Will I Expect You Die get dedicated index controller support? Gonna take this, Ken?
We're looking into it. No promises.
There we go. Let's see. Tusk Walrus asks, how do you do the Go Potty challenge? I believe there was a hint, or somebody said something in the chat, but we can give a hint.
Sure. It has to do with the space toilet. They probably know that. But what are all the things you could possibly do with a space toilet? There's not that many.
Not that many.
So,
Yeah.
do all of the things.
The solution
All
is
the
obvious.
things.
You have to climb through the toilet in your headset.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
sure that you start playing the game higher up so that you can climb down. Like on a picnic table, I like to play on a picnic table,
Yeah,
and then I can
sure.
walk down the little
And
stairs.
climb on your furniture in your house and then calibrate and turn off Guardian.
And if you're good, you can dunk yourself in the death engine
There you go.
for the ultimate win.
We didn't get that, did we? Get, like dunking your head in the toilet, giving you an achievement. That never went in.
I missed
No.
opportunities.
No, it did not.
There are many.
Oh, that's funny. Let's see. Main account asks, where's the dinner for the devs, you guys? So it's funny.
over there.
Yeah, it's over there. We had some PF Chang's earlier before the stream. We kept the title Dinner with the Devs because it's more dinner time, and you're talking with or listening to the dev team. Whenever this started, 2 years ago. On a consistent basis. We started on Twitch, and then we moved to YouTube. If you check some of our earlier streams, you'll see like tables it's just littered with food. And so we kind of cleaned it up, but we still feed the devs. The devs don't starve. Most of the time we feed the devs. No. So that's where the dinner is. The dinner's in the back. And there's plenty of it, so I'm going to have some after the stream as well.
And maybe you're eating dinner. And so it's dinner with the
That's
devs
right.
as you eat.
Yeah,
You get to be with us.
Yeah, main account, what are you having for dinner? Or if you are in the West Coast, what are you having for lunch or a snack? Yeah, hit us up. Tell us what you're eating.
If we were back on Twitch, would we have to be categorizing ourselves under social eating? Is that still a thing on there? Or did that go away?
Probably is.
Probably,
Please
yeah.
don't leave the internet.
Yeah, that's right.
Or we're just chatting. Just chatting about food.
Right, just chatting,
okay.
yeah. There. Games and food. Let's see. Main account also had the question of, is there a way to find what's below the crash site when you return to the office?
Ooh, exciting. Way to find what's below. I don't think there is, but someone should probably go and look.
There you go. Go check that out. Let's see. Cat. What's the hardest level to design in terms of looks, puzzles, and souvenirs?
It's a tricky one.
Yeah. Well, one thing, just going through the achievements and things like that. What was it? No, February 2019, we did a mini missions challenge to people to complete each level to get achievements because they get souvenirs because there are maybe on Oculus at least, I don't know the exact percentage in Steam, though I could find out for you if you so desire, that 6% of Oculus players have actually got all the souvenirs. So there's still a lot of people who say they finished the game and got everything, but unless they're part of that 6%, they really didn't. So there's still a large opportunity to complete every part of the games. But in terms of hardest level of what I saw, you guys can kind of in terms of looks and puzzles. But for souvenirs, the sub one is hard. Deep dive is tough for people, and getting both deep dive and winter break are kind of hard.
Because I interpret that, are they asking what's the harder to make, the design? What's the hardest to complete?
Oh yeah, I guess it could
Could be
potentially
either
be
way.
both. Yeah, so you guys could take the dev part. I did the complete kind of stuff. So.
I'll leave it to Tyler and Ken, having worked on just about all the levels.
Yeah.
I think I lean to train, probably. Because we bit off a lot, made us like a small team, and our time's limited, and we're gonna have conversations, they're gonna be dynamic and branching based on what you do, and you could send stuff to other cars and they react.
Oh yeah, there's.
And by train, for those, it's first class.
Oh yeah, sorry, first class. Yeah, yeah. Like there was the Vista, and we had like a location target we had to convey in art. Like we wanted to set it in like northern India, so we couldn't like just speed through like generic London train and then do all the dialogue stuff. And then testing is like audio. It's harder to test audio because if you're like with the headset testing stuff visually, it's much easier. But to be like, did the right dialogue play when I did this thing? It's like more laborious to test that way in VR. So yeah, there was a ton of like unique challenges to train or first class that we didn't anticipate until we got to them, and that was like, it was surprising. Yeah, it was fun. They probably made it more fun than it was harder, but yeah.
I think overall the hardest level to build would have been the very first one, Friendly Skies, just because VR was brand new. There were so many lessons that ended up being very relevant to VR that we simply hadn't learned yet. And I think that one may have had the longest dev cycle out of all the levels.
Probably, yeah. That's the one that I didn't work on. So I probably would have answered that. I got the easy ride. I joined, you guys figured it all out.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of Souvenirs, like the Souvenirs, it kind of ends up being like we build the level and then sort of late in the process, what ends up being like the funnest objects that would be a good fit to have as a toy to show up back in the office, that like we feel we want to give a little boost and a little more attention. Like what would be the most fun, or what's like the most underappreciated all-star of
It's sort of
things from that level.
That's like how they became a thing. Was that it was like early testing. People would pick up the gun like a baby with a rattle, and they'd like be excited to have a gun, and then they load the main menu, and there was a bug where whatever you're holding stayed in your hand. So you still had the gun in the main menu, and now they started shooting around. We're like, that's actually really cool. Like we should let you bring stuff back, and then just Souvenirs became the thing. But, yeah.
Cool.
And led to a long discussion of like, should people be able to bring things between levels? Like, definitely not. No, that like destroy everything. But, yeah.
Space.
Yeah, it turns out the agent's a hoarder. It just
Yeah.
they just scoop up
Collects
everything they
everything.
find,
Mine,
and just like the office gets full of
Whatever
stuff.
you're holding, yeah.
Which is what's kind of a problem, because the office is actually maybe the hardest optimized level in the game, because it's just so full of stuff from every different level. And there were some challenges there putting on the quest.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think being able to use those items in the office when they're they're testing the level, and it's like, oh, now we have all these different objects interacting with each other in the office.
And there's so many things you can light on fire in there. It's like, oh.
And it's like the weirdest test case is like asking Ariel, all right, can you pile everything into a big pile on the desk, set it all on fire, and then blow it up, and then report back on the numbers? Because like that's how we get our worst cases, just piling everything together and doing as much as we can do it at once. Yeah. It's really weird.
There's a lot of fire in the game if you haven't played it already.
The handler even comments, as such, I can't help but notice you seem to burn everything you find. It's an unsettling quality.
Once they get big enough, they self-perpetuate. Because the fire spreads to stuff and then loops back to itself, so it can just keep burning over and over. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Let's see, main account. Have you watched videos of people who world record speed running your game? They beat Friendly Skies in between 4 to 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Yes, we as a studio, I would say, like personally, but we watch a lot of videos of people playing our games, speedrunning our games. One, it's entertaining, and two, you get a chance to see how other people interact. Those are reasons why I would watch it. What are some of your reasons why?
I love the grenade drawer gif.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one Russian guy.
I think seeing them solve the level in a way that is intended but maybe unexpected for us as developers is really cool to see. Yeah, sort of the skips.
Yeah, I think of it as another layer to the puzzle. After you've beaten the main sort of traditional puzzle flow of it, the speedrun is an additional puzzle challenge of can you beat it but this fast? And when that time becomes so low, I'm thinking of Seat of Power in particular, that time is very difficult to achieve without doing one of these kinds of skips.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a way we can kind of sneak in a harder difficulty. So I really like speedruns, and if we could do it all over again, I think I would have made them even shorter.
Yeah.
To make them extra hard as kind of a bonus hardcore mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always like the best way to send off a level we just released is like by being able to watch someone play it the day it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like super exciting. And yeah, I guess speaking of world records, there's no world record for the full game now, right? Because the new level just came out. So I checked the boards just before the stream, and the top spot is still to be taken. So,
Opportunity.
yeah, we'll
There you
see.
go. It's just waiting
Yeah.
waiting for somebody out there.
Maybe the first person.
That's right.
And I also love like when you watch someone play, and the fact that you can see their hands and there's like that extra humanity to it. It's like when you like the fist pumps, and it's like there's all that body language that you wouldn't regularly get in like any other medium. That's one of the really cool things about VR.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's cool. Let's see. Not Snakes asks, what are the devs doing after I Expect You to Die? Any new projects? Well, all of our devs are always busy, and so they're for not just our I Expect You to Die team, but like I said, we have 120 plus people on staff, and so we work on 8 to 10 projects at a time. And yeah, the team is actively working on projects, whether it's research and development or titles of different things that we are working on that we have yet to announce, things like that. Very cool. So back to the full game, and now it's 7 levels. Started out as just 4. What? From watching it, so for some who started on it, very early, those who just come on, how have you seen either the audience of like I Expect You to Die change or stay the same, or the reception of it? This is a VR game that's been around for 3 years now. Well, it'll be 3 years in December officially, but it's kind of, I wouldn't say old. It's a mature virtual reality game. And so what are your thoughts on that?
I feel old.
You feel old.
I think something that is a bit surprising but really seems to be true is that in some ways the first level all the way to the last level have a lot in common. They are still about the close exploration of a space that's relatively small. And what's really amazing to me is I feel like VR is the only platform where there's enough fun to be had just within arm's reach and telekinesis reach that you can do a puzzle, adventure-style, environmental, escape-the-room game and go to new places, do new things, and there's tons of fun to be had. I feel like we could make 7 more easy. That just with that premise and challenge and puzzles, there's not a lot that we need to change to find a lot of fun in doing these.
Very cool.
I think I like seeing the like when we first launched the early levels, they were puzzle levels. People would be like, "This puzzle was great. This was fun. Like it's in a cool spot." And I love now when we launch a level, the first question is always like, "What did Zor do when he went?" And they they want to know the lore. Like,
yeah.
And we've always had that component where like we build a level based off of the actions of a person that's mysterious, and we draft out what they did and why. And then there's like a framework of hidden mysterious stuff, and then we have the player version. So seeing people get excited by like the lore we've written and like the motivations that we haven't revealed to them but they're guessing at, and some people guess it right, like dead on, and we have to poker face that they didn't. Yeah, like that stuff is super cool to me.
I think one of the things that's kind of rewarding with it is that when we started, one of our sort of pillars of the game was we wanted to be an ambassador game for VR, that like you could put anybody in the headset and that they should be able to have a good time, whether that's a kid or your grandma or anywhere in between. And I think it still holds up because it is still a good intro to VR game. Like some people said, oh, it's VR, so you're going to get to play Quake, but run around when you're in the headset. You can look everywhere and shoot. And it's like that doesn't work because of the whole locomotion problem. That can make people sick. So we embraced that constraint. It's like, okay, we're just not even going to deal with that issue. We're going to take that as something we have to build around. And it held up. It's still good. It generally doesn't make people sick because you almost never move.
Yeah.
And people enjoy it, and they're fun. They're bite-sized. It's not a huge time commitment. You can introduce somebody to the game. It's like, yeah, we can play for half an hour, and you can get out of the headset. And I had a really good time. And you're not overcommitting. You've got those nice bite-sized chunks. You can come back to it if you want more. You can keep going. But if not, you've introduced someone to VR with this, and hey, it sells the medium well.
Yeah, we sort of sanity checked that too. Or when we were working on Train. We did the thing that you do as a dev, and you're like, this would be really cool, the train moves. The train is traveling. Well, make it slow, they won't get sick. And we had to reapproach and be like, okay, well, it's going very slow. Most people don't get sick, but 10% do, right? And for us, we value, we are a game you can play if you're anybody. We're not going to make you sick. We're the ambassador to VR. So we decided, okay, the train is stopped because of an emergency, and we went from there. And having that's always been a pillar of the game. Is this is not an action game that you have to take anti-nausea pills to play. It's totally the entry level VR. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think too. I think everyone who plays games has had that experience of the huge open world game with the massive map where you're driving from A to B and there's nothing in the landscape, right? Because the place is so big. The opposite can be true too. We have very small spaces, and that means they're incredibly dense. We can just fit a lot in there, far more drawers and toys and interactions and things that you can do that reveal hidden panels or transform an object. Because we don't have any locomotion or move to new settings or spaces, that means we can pile more content in to those small spaces. And that only works, I think, because of the VR component too. Because of where you can look and what you can touch and interact with. I think interaction density does very, very well in this medium.
Yeah, I think just given the basics of being able to pick something up, opening or closing something, pulling a lever, pressing buttons, and a combination of those, perhaps with some outside interaction, oh, you need to deliver this, or put this letter in the vacuum tube, there's a lot of interesting interactions you can come up with.
Very cool. Let's see. Go back to some questions. Main account says, "I love the I Expect You to Die shirt one of the developers are wearing. So sorry I don't know your names. I'm Dwayne. Is there a way? You usually wear yours, but
I do.
Is there a way to purchase one, or is it just for the team?" That is a fantastic question. Maybe we can get the link dropped into the live chat. You can go to the Yeti store, or the YT, however you say it, yt.com/I Expect You to Die. Not only do we have the T-shirt, we have a poster that the folks from their team created based off of the game, and then 2 pins as well from the Zoraxis logo and the Enhanced Operative Division pin. So you can grab it all at the Yeti store. Is it possible to get a picture of Dr. Zord? Is he supposed to stay as a hidden figure to make the player picture him, or on their own?
Dr. Zor is not a vampire. If you took a picture of Dr. Zor, something would come out on the film.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Or is it?
There we go. All right. Let's see. What is the developer's... Oh, this is all main account. What's the developer's favorite VR platform to play their game on?
Oculus Quest.
Yeah, YouTube for me is the Rift, standard Rift.
Standard Rift?
But that's because it's the one I have. Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah,
it's my favorite.
Same for me.
I like the Rift S. It's comfortable.
Oh, the new Rift.
Yeah. Gosh, we've been showing Until You Fall since August, and we've been showing a lot on the Rift S, and yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot. So, and plus the touch controllers. I mean, there's something that just feels so good with it. So the Quest has
Quest
that
got
too.
the same controller screen.
I know. That's why I
No,
quickly pointed that
Don't it
out.
on top, don't it on bottom. It's different.
Not
Oh, with the
anymore?
original, yeah.
Don't-
I didn't say
do you,
yes.
do you reverse them?
No, I
see.
have
You
I
play
have the
red.
old timey. You have the black and white one.
Gotcha. You're a bottom donut.
Yeah, hey,
Bottom donut.
player. I'm a
That's
top
the one with that crank on the side.
The great
crank
Yeah.
VR.
Yeah,
I'm playing the riff, see?
I put a couple logs in the boiler.
Yeah.
Get the backpack on. If only.
Gosh. Radjack asks, why did you choose a scorpion as a trophy?
Good question. I feel like symbolic of mastery over Xeraxis plots. Somehow the scorpion is symbolic of Xeraxis, and to have an immortalized statue of a scorpion in your own office, it's like having a lighter in your own safe from the agency.
Ooh. Blowing mods over here. Let's see. Not Snakes. I Expect You to Die to introduce my friends to VR. So you guys did a great job being able to show new mechanics. Now I wanted to bring up the pillars of the levels or games, or how you I think you redefined some of the pillars as you started. So to keep you comfortable, instead of saying the original pillars, what pillars have you with your team decided to be the champion of VR?
So for this game, we do have the same 3 pillars.
Cool.
Our team examined each of them to see what they meant to us. And how we want to have deeper levels and meanings of them. So it is Believe You Are There, which I would argue is a pillar of VR, period. It's about immersion and presence. And for us, it's about the spy fantasy. We want you to, as much as possible, forget that you're playing a game with controllers and actually feel like you're in these spaces, because that's more fun. Another one is Layers of Discovery. Part of that gets that interaction density. We want you to be rewarded as you are curious and dig deeper. When you open a drawer, there should be something interesting inside. When you burn the note, there should be something beneath, right? Those layers of discovery are good for puzzle games, but I think what's key about them is that they reward your curiosity, which is something we constantly want to be doing. In playtesting, if we find someone who's playing the game is trying a thing that doesn't currently work, but they really think it should, we try to go back in and make that actually do something.
That's cool.
And that's a way of supporting layers of discovery. And then the last pillar is lead them to cleverness. Ooh, that was a close one. That was a close one.
Yay!
Believe that you're clever.
Believe that you have a layer of cleverness. Lead them to cleverness, I think, is closely related to the others. And it is a lot of the value of the puzzle, that we want solves to puzzles to set up the next challenge for the next one. So we often call that breadcrumbing. We want you to get the reward of the success when we play that little musical stinger as you solve one of our bigger puzzles. We want that immediately to give you a clue or a challenge or something rotates, something's off. You have a new thing to pick up. And so each time you can feel clever in what you've exposed, the ways you've turned the machine against itself to do the unexpected. If we can design something that makes you think that you figured it out and that we didn't know about it, that's perfect.
Very cool. Let's see. Cat asks, what was the most popular thing to do by the playtesters?
Across the whole game?
Across the whole game, and what interesting things that playtesters did that you made sure got in the game as well. You can kind of expand on that.
This is one from Seed of Power again,
Yeah.
which I know I'm referencing a lot.
Yeah, no, totally
It's
fine.
memorable.
Yeah,
And I can spoil it because it's been out for like
that's it.
a billion years.
Spoilers away. Yep.
There are X-ray goggles you can get in the level, spoiler. And when people put them on their face, sometimes when they want to take off the goggles, they actually grab their headset and lift their headset off. I love it. Jesse Schell here did that like 6 times in a row during one playtest and kept cursing every time he did it. Oh, you made me do it again. Very satisfying.
That's cool.
My answer to that is a little dark. It's super funny to me, but a lot of times, especially early playtesters in the first couple levels, they would realize like, they made a mistake, and they just pick up a gun and shoot themselves because it's the fastest way back to the main menu to restart. And we're like, this should be. Do we want this to be like an official restart? To have like a menu function, like this is how you restart things. We talked about having like a cyanide capsule, like a spy would or something.
Oh, sure.
To comically like, oh, screw that puzzle up. Cool. Right? But eventually, we did get that amount in. But like there was talk for a while of like you can't kill yourself with a gun because people kept doing it accidentally, and it's like it is always an accident, but it's usually really funny to them that it worked. So we like definitely get that in, except in the main menu. Because there's one edge case where like if you haven't learned how to use the controls yet, and you shoot yourself and you end up earlier in the tutorial, that was like not ideal. But every other instance of like shooting yourself to die and restart the level, we've always kept that in.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, there's selective blinks in the office.
Blink.
If it's pointed at you, it's a blink, and if it's pointed
blinks,
at
yeah.
anything else, it's
It's,
real.
it's like Westworld, the gun knows. Yeah.
Yes, the gun.
high science fiction technology.
They don't send you with those guns into the field. It's
Yeah.
only for the office, for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
that's why you can keep shooting.
Yeah, the office one's fake.
That's right.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
unlimited ammo.
Hmm.
Somehow it still blows up dynamite though.
Just needs a little touch.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan?
Let's see. I have to think about this a little longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The problem, what, favorite?
Favorite interactions?
That someone did the most, right?
Yeah, like if you seen from playtesters that like, oh, we need to get that in, or it's like, oh, that's hilarious that people keep on doing
I thought
it.
something. So like, I think anything that forces the player to move in a way, whether that's like, I'm just washing windows, or there's a laser, I need to actually dodge it.
Mhm.
I think when people realize, I have to move in order to like solve this, it's really amusing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like just that right there, washing the window, like the fact that the window ended up being something people inherently want to do is like, I'm at the window, I should wash the window. Like that actually is a part of an optional solve in the level. And also you can also wash the window with a sandwich.
Oh,
Nice.
That works.
Did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
And that's true in real life too.
That's true.
Wait, so it actually you have to clean
Not
the window.
recommended. Do not wash
I wish
windows.
I made it dirtier.
Little mayonnaise.
Well, yeah, that's right. It's just a smear of ketchup. Cat, is there a name for the agent in the dev team? Wait, is there a name for the agent in the dev team, or is he just called agent? So I guess is there an internal name for the agent that the dev team calls him?
I mean, it's you.
You're the
It's
agent.
you.
Yeah, or I mean, we say the player because you will be playing, but
Right.
it's
So to you, Cat, it would be Agent Cat.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. So you're in the game. That's pretty awesome. Let's see. Main account. Does the agent's handler have a name? Either.
Jared.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think the handler prefers to be known as the handler.
I think because the voice actor who plays the handler is an employee at our studio. He's like internal talent. So because we all know him, I think we half call him handler and half call him Jared because he's such a powerful
That's his
personality
actual
in the
name.
character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there have been weird conversations where like we'll talk about like, no, Jared's in the hole this time. Jared has to be in the hole. And Jared's like, what are you guys talking about? Like, don't worry about it, Jared. Get out of here.
Different Jared,
You're in
different
the
Jared.
hole.
Yeah, different Jared.
Except not. It's
Yeah.
the same Jared.
Yeah, but in the lore, they prefer to be called the handler. Let's see. Oh, there were two people who asked that. Yeah, Cat, and main account. Handler's a popular topic.
Fascinating.
Let's see. Radjack says someone said there was 4 button challenges on first class, but there were 3.
There are 4.
I think there are 4.
Gotta find them.
Yeah.
But-
Button
Huh?
combination.
You don't need 4.
You don't need
One is optional.
So
2 are optional.
Yes.
Maybe even 3 are optional. No, 2 are optional.
You
Are they all optional?
Pocket
correct?
watch.
You need 2.
Is there a bad combo? There's a bad combo too, right?
Well, there's
No.
one bad combo.
No.
All.
Does that kill you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
All of them, yeah,
So
all of them
that's
kills
5
you.
then.
Yeah.
No, I remember now because for a long time, if you put the wrong one of 3 in, you would die. And it was like way too harsh. Yeah.
Yeah.
People would be like afraid to hit once. Then we pulled it out. But I guess we put it, if you try and brute force everything,
Yeah.
then we slap on the wrist.
Yeah, and I like that because it does feel like a light them all up thing at first.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you probably start to wonder as you get to that last one of like, if nothing's happened yet.
This seems too easy.
Yeah, there's a lot of these.
Yeah.
These sure are a lot of buttons.
I'm going to press them all.
Why would it just
I'm a
be
secret
like
agent.
five?
This is very professional.
Yeah, that's
Just, like,
right.
hitting everything.
Yeah, clearly all the buttons must be lit
Yeah,
for this.
imagine the car in front of him. Someone hits the wall or whatever.
Really strong
Does a
votes.
telekinetic press make a sound?
Yeah.
All right, there you have it.
You hear it.
It's a button being pressed, not the finger.
That's
hitting
right,
it.
not the finger. So if you tapped on the wall with your telekinetic finger, it would make no sound.
Click, click.
This is going to be canon, whatever we say.
I've always wondered
Recorded forever.
If the telekinesis is your fingers stretching out. No, the feel on the far end. If you like pick something off a lint, do they feel this, or we used to call it the tentacle because it's like it looks like an octopus arm.
Yeah. Sure.
So is it like an octopus grabbing something?
So you just feel like,
Yeah. What
Like a wet
does
slap.
telekinesis feel like? Yeah.
Boy,
what does TK
Like
feel
when you tear the gun out of his hands, does he feel a person doing that, or is it like a monster?
I think it's a hand in the shape of a touch controller
Oh,
that
yeah.
just moves
Okay,
out
well,
into space.
Yeah. It's always in the tortured pose of
Yes. It's in the spine.
being in an office somewhere and some hand comes around the corner.
And then tentacles away.
let's see. Were there any times, his main account, were there any times he died unexpectedly and jumped a little? And by the way, if you have any any additional questions, bring them in now because we're going to start wrapping up in a little bit. So bring any questions that you have for the game and for the devs, bring it in. This is the final call. Okay, so yeah, were there any times that you died unexpectedly and jumped a little?
This is a Dan question.
Yes, in the Death Engine level, there's definitely times where you try to grab something and it always comes as a surprise.
Yeah, I think even you're shocked every time it happened.
Yeah,
Oh.
I broke it.
yeah, it's like I can't even control it. It's like a flight or flight response. Yeah.
My favorite part is that you specifically made a lot of that effect and system,
Yeah.
and for it to shock you is extra poetic.
Yeah, I'm surprising myself.
Awesome. Anybody else?
I don't think so. Eventually you get used to it, unless it's really loud. Eventually you get used to it, and you have to test it so much.
Sure.
You know, I've died thousands of lives in that game.
Oh my goodness. And you memorize all of the timings of everything and like little subtle sound effects that happen before deaths.
Mm.
So even if I'm killed by something that I wasn't actively looking at, like I'm messing over here in the design space and
Yeah.
get killed from the other side, there's like a little bit of subtle sound before it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
So yeah, it's very like Edge of Tomorrow, where you sort of accept what's gonna happen. You're like, oh, well, I'm dead, and you die.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, whenever I first played First Class, the spear surprised me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that is a pretty shocking one.
But
Yeah.
there's foreshadowing.
Not enough.
There is
I don't know.
You hear stomping. You don't
Yeah, you hear
expect
boop,
something.
boop, boop. And then it was like, oh, well, that's it. Because, yeah, I think it already primed you with just hearing different things. So to see that, just coming through the ceiling, I was like, oh, okay.
I can't remember that was like specifically from like a Harold Lloyd skit or something, where someone stabs it literally like a spear, and he does like one of these and it hits the chair.
Oh, sure.
I can't remember what it's from though, but yeah, like we aim for that feeling of like you have no idea what that something's gonna come through the roof immediately.
Yeah.
It's supposed to make you jump but not kill you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, another great one. Just seeing the reactions of. I think because I grew numb to it pretty quickly. Where it was the bees in the vault.
Oh, the bees, yeah.
I mean, in Seat of Power.
Sure.
Yeah.
The bees are scary, but they're not that fast.
Yeah,
They're
you can see it
You
coming.
understand what's happening, but you don't want it to happen. Yeah.
We had a playtester internally who, when the bees were coming, got out of her seat and hid behind the virtual desk. But bees, they can fly.
Yeah, that's right.
And they just go around there.
They're gonna come and get you.
Even virtual bees.
Even virtual bees will get you.
That is part of the reason we picked bees, is we wanted to find something that you couldn't just evade, that would continue to hunt you down.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I had a really similar pitch for the train and didn't get in because I always want bugs because they're scary. And it was like a centipede in a jar.
Oh.
I think, like bees are just benign enough that they're not terrifying, and I think that's like over the line of like too creepy to chase. If it's gonna be a wiggling centipede and like there'd be a little hammer on it that'd be on a timer when it snaps, it breaks the jar.
Whoa.
Sound.
Oh.
It gets set loose.
Yeah, well, like, they put it through the mail slot in the train, and so it rolls on the floor. And if you break it, it gets out, and if you don't solve it, it gets out.
That's exciting. I'd want it to like creep along the walls
Yeah.
and not kill you immediately, but you're on a quiet timer.
It climbs up above you and then descends down. And then
Oh,
your timer.
that's creepy.
No.
There's nothing you can do.
That's wrong. Okay. Let's see. Shadow Program. What's up, Shadow? Question. Whose idea was it to make the buttons in Operation Death Engine?
The little beep boops, that's my assumption, is the clickety clackety beepity boops.
Probably.
There's a lot of buttons.
I think those were just decorative, and I do remember salvaging them. It's like, oh yeah, these should totally beep and boop, and I hooked those up pretty late, and they were it.
We have the sound buttons in the main console that do very complex things. in your
Michelle
background.
made all the buttons.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We have the computer buttons that control the computer. There's a toilet button, airlock button, gravity button.
There's a lot of buttons.
There's another button, isn't there?
Elevator, airlock door buttons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one. I can't remember what it is.
Did you say airlock buttons?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
button on,
levers.
maybe some kind of
They probably mean the
control
beep and
thing.
booping musical buttons.
There's the box. button,
Ah,
the
yes,
box.
and that's
Oh,
4
yeah.
buttons.
This level's a lot of buttons.
That's why we call it the button level.
There you go.
We don't
That's
call
not
it
true.
I don't know that at all.
Literally now.
Retroactively,
Yeah.
now it's known as the button level.
So yeah, have you played the button level? You know, the thing
That's
in
my
space.
favorite one.
Yeah.
We
All
were
right.
inspired by the button for this one. It's the theme.
What's up?
We were inspired by the button.
Of course.
I was in a pillar poster.
Yeah, that's right. Buttons. Not snakes. When's the next dinner with the devs? That is a great question to end with. The next dinner with the devs is December 18th. Thank you. That is a Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll have another team on with the exciting news for that. And it'll be a fun way to end the year. So thank you, everybody, for sticking with us for the November Dinner with the Devs Death Engine Edition. We're pumped that this was a fantastic way to end I Expect You to Die. Any questions, comments, how much you love the game and the new level, please feel free to tell us. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We are active on all of our social media for Schell Games Corporate, on Twitter, Facebook. We're on more Twitter, Facebook, our newsletter as well. And same for I Expect You to Die. We're on Twitter, Facebook there. We are active in our Discord for Until You Fall and the I Expect You to Die channel. You can talk to Tyler. He checks it regularly. And then, I Expect You to Die has a nice, active newsletter, and all of the things that go on with I Expect You to Die we announce first on the newsletter, and then it trickles down to the website and all of our social media. So please feel free to subscribe there, and we will talk to you next month. So thank you again.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.